I saw Crowley vomit in that houseplant. Fucking lightweight.
I saw you with that girl down there.
Bella's soft whisper broke me from my thoughts. I slid my eyes open, and she had gone back to sitting Indian style, staring at her hands in her lap intertwined. Her eyelids looked heavy as fuck, and I nearly smirked that my girl was quite drunk, before her comments again. "Oh," I said, surprised she stayed down there long enough to see. Then I fucking grimaced, remembering the cotton candy bitch. "Yeah. I stammered, furrowing my brows. "Tori?" I said, and then realized that wasn't her name. "No, Dara." I pursed my lips and looked towards the window, then decided it didn't really fucking matter what her name was. So I fucking shrugged at Bella. She looked up at me and licked her lips lazily. I could tell it was really starting to hit her.
"She was very pretty,"
she said in a soft voice that was nearly slurred, but not quite yet. I snorted. "You don't call girls like that pretty." I slurred, lightly arcing a brow. I was feeling it pretty fucking good myself. Bella pursed her lips and looked back down at her hands.
"What would you call them?"
she asked quietly, picking at her pajama pants once again. I rubbed my hand over my face lazily, remembering the strawberry blonde and all her cleavage. Sexy, voluptuous, seductive, easy. I shrugged, remembering that the view really was rather nice. "Not pretty," I concluded. Bella glanced up at me from under her eyelashes, and my breath nearly hitched, because she looked so fucking different when she did shit like that.
"What would you call pretty?"
she asked, her words slurring a little more. I pursed my lips and furrowed my brow. What would I call pretty? What kind of fucking random-ass question was that? "Why does it matter?" I asked, being appropriately evasive, feeling uncomfortable discussing my particular type of girl to Bella. She shrugged, and darted her eyes back to her hands. I leaned my head back to its previous position, and closed my eyes again, just fucking enjoying the feeling.
"Would you call me pretty?"
Bella whispered in a light slur. I opened my eyes and looked at her, sitting in the same position staring at her hands. Surprisingly, she wasn't blushing. She just looked fucking glum. Then I had to think over her question. Would I call Bella pretty? I tried not to see her like that, but I couldn't deny she was attractive. I suppose pretty would suffice. Sometimes, when she didn't work so goddamn hard to hide herself, she was downright beautiful. "Yep, you're pretty," I concluded decisively with a drunken nod. She snapped her head up to meet my gaze, and her eyes were glazed over more, and heavy-lidded.
"You're not just saying that to make me feel better,"
she slurred skeptically, halting the movement of her hands picking at her pant fabric. I quirked an eyebrow at her. Do I ever say shit just to make people feel better? I scoffed. It was true. I never said shit just to make people feel better, and I sure as fuck wasn't starting now. Bella's eyes lit up a bit, that I called her pretty, and I wanted to snort at her for being such a fucking girl, all fucking insecure and shit. It was ridiculous. I rolled my eyes at her and leaned back on the headboard, but kept my eyes opened, staring at my little insecure girl down my nose. Then she fucking smiled. All fucking big and goofy, and it lit her whole face up. I smiled back at her automatically because I fucking love seeing my girl smile like that. Then finally, her whole face broke out into a bright red blush. I snickered. "Don't freak out or anything." I rolled my eyes, then finally slid them closed. "I try not to see you like that," I sighed truthfully, closing my eyes. The room was silent, and I felt so fucking good and tingly that it was making me drowsy. I smirked when I realized it didn't fucking matter. I had my girl here to keep the dreams away. When I opened my heavy lids again, Bella was staring at me with the furrowed brow, still sitting with her legs crossed, and all her brown hair piled up on top of her head. I quirked an eyebrow at her, wondering what the fuck she was staring at, but she just looked away, back into her lap with her little lips pursed. I closed my eyes again, feeling really fucking good, straightening out my legs, and slumping back further onto the pillows, below me drunkenly. I heard a quiet gasp and opened my eyes. Bella was staring at my stomach wide-eyed where my shirt had ridden up when I slouched down. I furrowed my brows and glanced at my stomach. She had seen my fucking scars. I hastily pulled my shirt down to my waist and grimaced. Because I didn't like anyone seeing that shit. I glanced warily at Bella where she was still sitting staring wide-eyed at my now covered stomach. I snatched the pillow beside me and set it on top of it, kind of fucking embarrassed she has seen. She met my slightly blurred gaze again, looking really fucking apologetic.
I didn't mean to stare,
she slurred out, darting her eyes back to her lap, and I fucking grimaced again, feeling like a fucking freak for the first time in quite a while. I clenched my eyes closed and held the pillow tighter, wishing she hadn't seen shit. The room was silent again for a few moments, and the alcohol was numbing the dread I was feeling, but not nearly fucking enough. Bella cleared her throat and I opened my eyes. She was staring at her hands again.
I have scars too,
she slurred in a whisper, playing with her pajama pants again. I furrowed my brow and sat up all the way. From Phil? I asked cautiously, trying not to upset my girl. She pursed her lips and nodded heavily into her lap, sparing me a glance from under her eyelashes for a split second. I was about to ask more, but she sat up on her knees and turned around so her back was facing me, leaning back on her ankles. I wondered what the fuck she was doing, but then she reached over her head and grabbed the back of her shirt, sliding it up her back. My eyes widened and I briefly panicked, wondering what the fuck she was doing. But then I finally understood why the shirt stopped across her ribs. Because across Bella's lower back was a long jagged scar, reaching from her right hip and disappearing behind her shirt across her spine. I sat there for a moment fucking gaping at it like a hypocrite before she put her shirt back down and swayed back around to face me, flopping back onto the bed and crossing her legs. I was debating if I should ask her exactly how Phil did it, but then decided I didn't want to bring all that shit up tonight. So I laid back down and gave her a little smile. My girl was trying to make me feel better by showing me that. I showed her mine, and she showed me hers. And I was fucking drowsier than hell, and ready to go to bed. Sleep? I slurred out, swaying lightly against the headboard, and praying that the room wouldn't start spinning. Bella looked up at me and nodded, so I stood up and pulled the covers back, slipping underneath them with a sigh.
No alarm,
Bella slurred while climbing in next to me. I quirked an eyebrow at her. Pretty fucking risky. She settled into her pillow, lying facing me, and rolled her eyes.
As me's in Seattle,
she slurred, sliding her eyelids closed. I nodded and turned the lamp off, not touching the alarm, and glad we could sleep the fuck in, because I was dreading the hangover I was going to have. I scooped my girl up, rather uncoordinated, but successfully, and pressed her to me without hesitation. She brought her little hand up and lazily began stroking my hair. I buried my face into the little bun on the top of her head, and took a deep breath. So much better than cotton candy. I smiled into her hair and brought my hand down to her lower back, over where her scar was, and rubbed it lightly before pressing her to me more firmly. Tit for tat.